Right, we're looking at the Smart Auto Shop version 2014.32. On the startup, for whatever reason, on anything smaller than 150% view on the screen, you cannot see the OK icon. There's a splotch over the top of it. If you blow it up, it goes away, but you can't see all the screens on the screen. First area we're going to go into is parts, where we're having some problems. When we look at the parts, there are several areas that do not work. Categories do not work. I'm clicking on that. There's no drop downs, no subcategories and drop downs. Find picture doesn't work. The take picture does not work either. There's no drop downs in these. We'll back out of here. Next thing we'll do is we'll go to invoices. Current invoices. We'll take a look at one that has some parts and labor on it. When we look at the labor, select the line. Whenever something is typed into the extended description notes, it does not show on the invoice when it prints. We'll go here and we'll just take a look at this. I'll hit the save button to make sure we've saved the changes. When I go into print, none of those notes will actually stay. You can see in labor that nothing is actually in any kind of extended note whatsoever, and nothing is in the note screen whatsoever. We're going to attempt to take a deposit. It says it must upgrade to the Pro version to use this feature. We are on the Pro Professional version. Authorizations. It says there are no labor items attached to this order. Yet, when we look at the labor, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 labor lines. We'll close that. The other area that we have a problem with is notes. Notes, again, I can put a line of notes in. I can ask it to print the notes. I will hit save and close. I'll hit again save this to make sure we're saving the order, saying it's saved. We'll go to print it. And again, we'll notice that there are no notes in the note field. We'll hit close. We'll go back and look at the notes, and there's nothing in the note field whatsoever. It doesn't save any of the notes. It says there's no notes on there. We'll simply close it. Line items, we'll look at parts. We have several items of parts showing the location, 1, the quantities. We'll look at, let's look at this simple one here, pilot jet. Item code is 100-501-27. We're showing one on this order. We'll go ahead and save this. Hit OK. We'll close it. We will close this window. We'll go back to the parts. And we'll look for this part number. And as we scroll through here, we're looking for this jet. Here we find it. The on-hand quantity is 1. That was the one that was originally put in the system. It hasn't been relieved from the invoice. Although it is a current open invoice, not sure if it's supposed to relieve the inventory when it is actually closed or not. We'll leave parts. Now we'll go to invoices and we'll look at closed invoices. We're going to, this close invoice, our only option is to actually print it. We'll look at it. It's a tank bib, a 931.58, which was sold in a quantity of 1. Go ahead and close that. And we'll close that screen. And we'll go and look at the parts. Tank bib is there, showing a quantity of 1 on hand, and again that is the only one that was purchased and it did not relieve the inventory. So items added to the inventory are showing up, but they are not being relieved from inventory. When we look at reports, we go to our inventory, our parts list. We know that we have parts. Nothing comes up in the report. Shows there are no parts. We look at the reports. We go to sales. We know that we have had sales. We're going to start back from the day we purchased the software and loaded it, which was the 2nd of November, ending report date today. We're going to generate the report. It tells us the estimate invoice, procs, populate table, column order type does not belong to table, whatever that means. Close that window, reports generated, there's nothing reported. It's not reporting any type of sales at all. It's not showing the sales for the closed invoices, which at this point we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 closed invoices with parts and labor. No sales are coming up. When we go to create an invoice, if I go to add a customer, we'll add JoJo. He doesn't exist. Does not exist, add him as a new customer, yes. It'll let me create a vehicle. So we're going to save that. Now at this point it goes to the open order. I have no place to put in the name and address information here whatsoever. I can edit the vehicle, I can add my symptoms, I can do all those things, but I cannot put any more information in there. I actually have to save this order and close it. Now I have to actually go out to customers and go back and find JoJo so I can now add name and address information. It doesn't make sense. You would think that you could do that from the original order. And JoJo doesn't exist, so we're going to go ahead and delete JoJo. It says the Microsoft Access Database Engine cannot find an input table or query vehicle maintenance. Make sure it exists and that the name is spelled correctly. You say OK, but it does delete JoJo. JoJo's gone. Go back to customers, and we see there is no JoJo. On some of these screens, a double click is necessary to open them, and on some, double click opens the screen twice. I'll go back to invoices just to look at the ones that are open to see if JoJo is still there, or one we just created and that invoice is not there. So when we deleted JoJo, it deleted the invoice as well. Now, when we go into our settings, it says use categories. Now, there are categories that are in parts, making the assumption we can use categories. I'm going to save and close that. I'm going to enter parts. Now I'm going to attempt to add a part, and it says it cannot find table 0. Now if I click OK, it'll let me go into this. Now again, I've got no categories, cannot take a picture, find a picture, add a picture. So when I put this test in, and test, a cost of $1, I'm going to put an on-hand quantity of 1, get the basic fields filled in. I'm going to ask to save and close, and it's telling me it has an invalid category. But there is no way to select a category. And there I am, I'm stuck. Cannot get out of there. The only thing I can do is close it and lose that information. Category, subcategory does not come up when categories are selected. Come back out, go to settings, turn that off. Save and close. Now when I'm also in my setups, so I go to page 3, which allows me invoice settings. I only have one column, or the option of California are the only buttons that can be selected. I cannot select a 2-column, I cannot select wide, I cannot select Florida. The 1-column invoice wastes a lot of paper, very difficult to read. We'll take a look at one. Go to this close invoice, and we'll take a look at this close invoice and look at the print function. Now the way this looks on the screen, you would assume this would probably print on one page, but it does not. When you look at your print layout, it is 4 pages long, and the columns go off of the side of the paper. That's how it defaults to print. The only way I've been able to find a reasonable method to this is to go landscape, take the tab margins, change them, and now it breaks it down to a 2-page invoice. Which still, it seems the font's rather large. It's a lot of paper for a single invoice. These settings do not save. Once I get out of this screen and I decide to print this, it's gone. There's no way to change that. I guess I could export it to a different type of file. I'm not sure. make it print a little bit better, but it's a tremendous waste of paper if you don't change all those settings, which is difficult each time. Text. I have a technician. I am assuming that the service commission is not any kind of dollar amount. I can't pay a technician a dollar amount per hour. It has to be a percentage, which is kind of difficult. If I want to pay a technician $10 an hour, regardless of the job, this is asking me for a percentage, which most technicians are not paid on a percentage or paid on a flat rate. Again, that goes to the reporting in sales for labor, which we have sold labor. Generate this report since the date the program was purchased. Generate the report. And again, on this one for labor, it says estimate, invoices, procs, populate table, column, order type does not belong to the table. And report comes up blank. Now there are some reports that do come up. I can actually pull the customer list. That report will populate. Some of the other items we're not using, I can push miscellaneous items in. Bays. I have one shop. I don't know what the difference is as far as bays and scheduling, I'm sure. Marketing says the file is not found. Counter sales is a difficult ticket in a sense to use because it prints very oddly. So I haven't been using that, and it prints completely different than a standard invoice. The tools, database cleanup, not sure what this actually does. It says perform maintenance button to perform maintenance cleanup procedures on your database. We'll go ahead and we'll do that and we'll see what it does. Now it says that DB get set, get record count, cannot find table 0. It says FRM tools, perform maintenance, cannot find table 0. Microsoft Access Database Engine cannot find the input table. Maintenance is complete. Not quite sure what that does. Let's go ahead and take a look and see if our parts are still there. Parts are still there. Everything seems to be the same. And selecting the database. The database has went away a couple of times. It's zeroed itself out. The most recent one I'm using is called Backups 11-2-2013 91859 fixed, which is I had to re-enter all the information back in because it blew out all my quantity on hand information after it was closed for some reason. I have no idea. This was the most recent one. Besides that, we'll look at that database and we'll see here that in that database it has the same parts. We'll go back and select the most recent database that was fixed. Do not know the rhyme or reason. All of a sudden a bunch of windows will start flashing up telling me that there's all kinds of issues and I cannot get the program. Let's take a look at settings again and use categories. Let's see if that prompts this thing to go into a... Now it doesn't, I put in find and it actually goes directly to it. Didn't pop up that window. Now it's saying can't find table 0. Invalid category. Won't let me save it as it is. So we'll just close that. And then we'll get back out of here. We'll go back to settings. We'll not use categories. So it's a variety of things that aren't functioning properly. It does not look like the screens in many cases. The part screen in the ad window doesn't look like the screen that's actually on the website that shows the functions, where you have the picture of the bottle of oil and you can find it, you can take the picture and such. This is version 2014.32. It says it's Smart Auto Shop Professional. That's what we assumed was the professional version. Seems to have more items across the top of the screen than the website's version shows. So this is where we're at, and these are the problems I'm having, and I'm hoping that you can fix this. Thank you.